You're now watching Wayback Wednesday, sponsored by Floors Glass and Mirror Company, servicing the area since 1977 with residential and commercial work.
Hello, folks, and welcome to Wayback Wednesday. I'm your host, Randy Adcox. Good of you to join us tonight. Thank you so much for inviting us into your home. And you know, as usually the case, tonight's show is a combination of things, but certainly a result of some efforts and contributions, I should say, by a couple of our loyal viewers. So first of all, I want to thank Sam Parham and Bob Marriott. Sam had contacted me last week and said someone had provided him with a book of pictures of the Imperial Tobacco Center here in Rocky Mount and some of the goings on and happenings associated with that when it was in operation. And so he was kind enough to bring the book by my house today. And so I spent a couple hours this afternoon scanning those pictures and put them into a format we could share with you tonight on the show. So thank you, Sam. We'll get into those in a few minutes. Also got a call earlier this week from Bob Marriott. Bob's another one of our loyal viewers. And Bob brought up two things that I wanted to throw out to the viewing audience tonight and let you guys ponder on these things and see if anyone can shed some light on these two little mini mysteries. Number one is Bob mentioned, he said when he was a small boy, 10 or 12 years old, this is probably around mid-1940, he said World War II was going on. There was a military plane crash. The plane apparently took off or was trying to land, perhaps. I'm not sure exactly, but at the old airport down on Church Street. And apparently the plane overshot the runway. This was before 64 bypass was cut through there, of course. So there was nothing but fields between the end of the airport runway and the Tar River. This is over in the general area of Bob Melt's Barbecue. And from what Bob says, his father took him, and I guess another friend of theirs up there to see the crash site. And apparently the plane appeared to have overshot the runway, went across this bean field and left deep gouges in the field, and went down the bank of the river, crossed the river, and had started up the other side when it finally came to a rest on the other bank with the tail end of the plane in the water and the nose end of it literally a few feet from the foundation of Bob Melton's Barbecue. So that's how the story was relayed to me from Bob's memory. And I spent a few hours this week, in fact, trying to see if I could dig up some pictures or a newspaper article or anything. And I'm not sure if I was not wording my searches correctly, but for whatever reason, I didn't find anything. Now, one thing I did not do that I had hoped to be able to do was go to the library. And you've heard me mention before, there's a website. It's called newspapers.com. And it's a neat site. The library, the local Rocky Mount Library, has a subscription so that the public can use it. Otherwise, you have to pay. You got to join up, and it's not much, like $15 a month, I think it is. And it allows you to search through literally tens of thousands of newspapers all over the country. And so one of the things I had hoped to do was go by the library before tonight's show and do a search through that newspaper.com database and see if I could find any story or pictures to go along with that. And I just didn't get a chance to do that, so I do apologize. But anyway, there was a neat story there, and I wanted to see if anyone remembered or knew anything about it that could add any more to the story besides what Bob has already contributed to us. Also, one more thing, and I almost forgot to do this, and I'm glad I remembered it. I received so many phone calls and text messages and even cards in the mail. And I just want to thank you all who have reached out and expressed your condolences to me and my family regarding the recent passing of my mother. We greatly appreciate everything that everyone has said and done and all the outpouring of support for our entire family. So thank you from all of us. We really appreciate your concern and your condolences to our family. Okay, so the pictures that I'm going to show you tonight are primarily, and by the way, I had someone tell me they had forgotten our phone number, so it's 407-1111. And if you've got an idea or you want to comment or you want to share a memory or something about anything that we show tonight, please give us a call. 407-1111 is the number. And we'll take your calls, put your comments on the air, and share them with the rest of the viewers. But to the primary focus of tonight's show, in correlation with the pictures that Sam Parham had provided us, is tobacco, and particularly tobacco in this part of the state. But on a larger basis, we've talked in the past in a couple different shows, in fact, about how important tobacco in the tobacco market has been to not only Rocky Mount and eastern North Carolina, but to the state and literally to the nation, as tobacco was so widely grown all throughout the South. And so there's just, we got a call. Let's get this call. Hello there, you on the air?
Yes, I've got a question for you about a house over there. It was on Raleigh Street.
Okay.
Off Arlington Street.
Arlington Street?
It was on Raleigh Street. If you go through the overhead bridge, headed to Edgecombe, and you take the left there on Arlington Street.
Okay.
And you'll go down there 1 block, and there's a traffic diamond there.
Okay.
Take the right on that traffic diamond, and you'll run right into that house. It was a huge house. It was about 3 stories, and it had a circle drive in front of it. And I was just wondering if anybody knew about that house, because that house has been dismantled, wasn't tore down. So workmen went in there and took it apart piece by piece. And that means the molding, the staircase, the floors, the walls, the ornamental, the light fixtures, everything was taken out piece by piece.
Was the house itself?
Who lived in that house?
Okay. Was the house itself disassembled and taken down, or just everything inside the house?
Well, I don't know what kind of what's there now. I haven't been by there in several years.
Okay.
There were several workmen there taking out everything, the boards and all, putting it on a truck,
Okay.
taking it off somewhere.
But the house was on Raleigh Street.
Yeah, it had a circle drive.
Okay.
You walk out the front door of that house, you would walk right in there to Kentucky Fried Chicken and Westcott's over there, right across the street.
Okay. I know the general area where you're talking about. I can't say I remember that house, but I know the general area where you're talking about. I remember Westcott's Kentucky Fried Chicken for sure. So I'll tell you what, we'll throw it out to the viewers. If anyone knows anything about the house or remembers anything about it, give us a call. 407-1111 is the number. We'd love to hear from you. Okay, caller, thank you for calling in.
Thank you very much.
All right, sir. So, as I said, each one of these shows, folks, is as much about your memories and your knowledge of this town, and it means a lot to me, as to the other viewers too, for that matter, when we can share knowledge about the history of this town. You've heard me say many times, I'm saddened on a almost weekly basis by the things that have been torn down and things that continue to be torn down and done away with. I wish I had the foresight 50 years ago to go around with a camera and take some pictures of things that were present when I was a child that are no longer here. And I'm sure some of you could go back further than that and wish you'd done the same thing. Getting back to the theme, if you will, of tonight's show, there's some really neat pictures, and we'll get to those in a few minutes. But while I was researching for the show tonight, I stumbled across an interesting article, and it's several pages long. I'm going to kind of skim over it, but it tells the story of growing tobacco, and specifically, the title of this article, in fact, is "How Did the growing of tobacco affect the Jamestown colony?" Now, going back a little bit to your history lesson here, you remember Jamestown was settled in Virginia in actually early 1600s, and so this article here kind of covers the history of tobacco and the influence of tobacco and tobacco growing on that particular area, and of course that predates this area, but it kind of gives you a base point, if you will, to kind of think about where and how important tobacco was to the early colonies and to the development of the country. So, like I said, there's several pages. I'm not going to try to read it all, but there's just a lot of neat things here. Some I remember from school and some I did not, but I want to share with you what it is. I'm going to even break out my glasses so I can read it without missing anything, hopefully. It says the history of tobacco in Jamestown Colony started when John Rolfe, an Englishman, found that Virginia could be a suitable place to grow tobacco. It happened around 1612. At that time, the news also brought joy to the farmers in that area, since the farmers there suffered from unsuccessful harvests for several years. The plant of tobacco started and dominated the field of Jamestown Colony. Because of high prices, tobacco then became the major commodity developed by this colony. The economy of Virginia even dominated by the help of tobacco's development until 1622. John Rolfe at first obtained the Nicotiana tabacum, the tobacco seed, from Spanish. To be more precise, it was from the Orinoco River Valley. This type of seed, then known as the European standard, since it has dark and bitter taste. It has also grown a dark leaf and produced a milder if planted in the fairly bottomland area like James River. 160 years later, the growth of this plant soon spread to another area such as Tidewater until over to the Blue Ridge Mountains. It even became the most dominating plant in the region of Chesapeake. Before John Rolfe introduced the tobacco seeds, Jamestown was only a place where starving colonists gathered with a little hope to survive. Their condition became so worse when the Indians were disappointed by them, and London Company did not have any interest to send them supplies. There were not so many gold that they could, and I'm not sure who wrote this thing. I'm reading it as it is, and I'm kind of having to edit as I go along because there's quite a few typos and errors in this. But anyway, it says, being on this condition like John Rolfe, who was later to smoke tobacco, interested to take some of the seeds home and cultivated them. He first chose and placed tobacco, his first place chosen to put tobacco was the Trinidad in South America. But he did not stop his work, even though Spain had already declared serious death penalty for anyone who sold tobacco seeds besides the Spaniards. Rolfe also carved his name in history when in 1614 the first shipment of tobacco was sold from Virginia to London. This work continued well in the same condition for a couple of years, and in June of 1616, Rolfe and other leaders from Jamestown Colony came to London in order to discuss the newly success of the crop. Keeping the hard work of developing this business, Rolfe became influencing men known by the world. I think this was somebody's report, actually, because a lot of this seems almost on an elementary level. But I guess the gist of the article, and what I wanted to get across here, was that tobacco was one of the very first crops that were grown in the New World, and certainly it very quickly became dominant, became the number one cash crop. Literally cities and towns grew up around the tobacco industry, as did Rocky Mount, and that led to the influx of other industries such as the railroad and other types of agriculture. And so the fact that Jamestown is so close to us, a few hours away by drive, a little further that back in the 1600s, but certainly the word spread about how profitable it could be growing tobacco, and so it made sense that farmers who were looking to make a living growing crops would try different crops, and as it turns out, this particular area of the state was very well suited for growing tobacco. And as history has shown us over the years, tobacco has remained the number one cash crop. And still to this day, in spite of all the anti-tobacco and negative publicity that's come along with smoking in general, tobacco is still a very profitable cash crop, at least in some sectors. So anyway, having said that, we've got a few more minutes for our first commercial break. So tell you what, Lee, if you already got those pictures queued up, we'll go ahead and get into a couple of them before we get to our first commercial break here. And then when we come back, we'll go into the rest of them. But if you've got them queued up, Lee, go ahead and put the first one on the screen. And I have to look. Okay, some of these pictures were dated, some were not. Some of the people were identified, some were not. But this particular picture here, and I believe, and I'm going to swear to this, don't quote me on this, but I believe all these pictures were taken in the Imperial Tobacco Center from some dates on the picture were from 1950s. I even saw one, I think, from 1947. And when I could identify a picture that had a date, I actually identified that date on the picture when I saved it. This was one of the ones that did not have a date. Then just looking by the clothes and mental wear, and I would say this is probably from the 1950s, perhaps early 1960s. And it looked like they're tobacco graders going through grading tobacco. And we're going to talk a little bit more in a few minutes about some of the different aspects of the tobacco growing process, and there's more than just throwing a seed in the ground and growing tobacco, obviously. And there was so much more, in fact, that a cottage industry sprang up around every aspect of tobacco. So, all right, let's go to the next picture then, because there's several in this grouping, and this was just a neat picture here, and it was one that really didn't have any title, but it looks to me that these are farmers that have brought their tobacco to the market, and they're waiting their turn for their tobacco to be graded. You see they're in burlap sacks there, and obviously the warehouse was at this day quite crowded with farmers and tobacco that was brought in. And there are several in this grouping. So Lee, we'll go ahead and hit a couple more, Lee, before we get to our first break here. Okay, and again, this looks to me just to be another image. And if anybody recognizes, I've looked and I've zoomed in on some of these pictures trying to see if I could identify anyone, and unfortunately, I didn't recognize anybody in there. And this was certainly at a time when I would have been a small child at the best, and in some of these I was not even born yet. So, in any case, I tell you what, Lee, bring it back to me. There's several more in this grouping here, but before we get into those, I think it's a good time to go ahead and take a first commercial break. During the break, folks, be thinking about the plane crash, the military plane crash that happened out at the old airport. Oh, and the other thing, I almost forgot to mention this other thing. Bob had given me two things to throw out to you tonight. The other was the railroad crossing bars that come down to block traffic when a train is coming by. And this came about because of the topic last week about the towers. And Bob said he remembered seeing men up in the towers, and they appeared to be pumping something up and down. So Bob was wondering, and he asked me to put this out to the audience, whether or not those arms were raised and lowered by hydraulics. So there's Bob right there. Hey, Bob.
Hey, Randy.
Yes, sir.
That first picture you showed was a tobacco sale, not a grading.
Okay.
The man on the left is Hum Vestal.
Oh, you recognized him, did you?
Yeah, he was, and I recognized the guy with the glasses on the right. All the buyers were on the left side of that picture.
Let's put that one back up, Lee.
Tobacco owner was on the warehouse owner was on the left, and the auctioneer was right behind him, and they'd walk down those rows selling it.
Okay.
And the last picture there, when you showed the whole warehouse, they were actually auctioning off, and the people were standing back watching them go through the auction.
Okay, so we just put the first picture back. I'm not sure if it's up on your screen yet. There's a little bit of delay between what we're doing here and what you're seeing because you're getting pulled across on the internet. But so this is the gentleman that are walking along each side of a stack of tobacco or pile of tobacco, and you're saying these were actually buyers, is that right?
The buyers were on the right-hand side of the picture.
Okay.
The guy with the white hair is Hum Vestal. I think he ran Planter's Warehouse. I believe I'm right on that.
Okay. Okay.
The big tall guy, I know him with the glasses, but I can't put a name on him right now. But they were all the buyers with the white shirts down the line there, and they're looking, and the auctioneer's right behind Hum Vestal.
I got you. Okay, well that makes sense. That makes sense. Well, look, appreciate it. And I was when you were calling in, I had forgotten to mention the other thing earlier about the railroad bars that come down when the train comes by. But you and I talked earlier before the show tonight, and you were telling me that it appeared anyway from your vantage point on the ground looking up at the tower that the guys were pumping something. And so your question was, for the guys who are ex-railroad employees or know something about the process, were those railroad arms raised and lowered by hydraulic pressure? That's the question.
That was the question, yes.
Okay. Well, we're going to let I do know we have got some retired railroad guys that watch the show, so I'm going to let you go. Maybe one of those guys will call in. But in the meantime, we're going to take a quick commercial break. And so, folks, if you know the answer to any of this, give us a minute to get through with the commercial break and then call us back, and we'll take your calls after the break. All right, Lee, take it away with a break, buddy.
All right, bye-bye.
Thank you, Bob.
You're now watching Wayback Wednesday, sponsored by Flores Glass and Mirror Company, servicing the area since 1977 with residential and commercial work.
Does sorting through Medicare make you feel like this? Don't worry. Be happy. For any of your Medicare questions, just a simple call to your local team of licensed, customer-friendly agents can get you from here to there. Imagine getting the most out of your Medicare. Call 833-232-8880.
I'm Daniel Moss, owner of Cornerstone Funeral Home, and I'd like to invite you and your family to give our family an opportunity to serve you in your time of need. And we offer a full line of funeral services, everything from visitations to graveside services to cremations on site with a live crematory, as well as a banquet hall to meet the catering needs of our families that we serve. We offer catering service. We offer refreshments prior to visitations and services of our family. And we want to invite you to come and experience the difference here at Cornerstone Funeral Home.
When faced with special care needs for elderly or disabled loved ones, families want compassionate, comforting care. That's Tender Touch Home Care Services' goal, providing the level of care we would expect for our own. With over 10 years of home care excellence, Tender Touch provides an array of services that keeps your loved one at home. From personal care, light housekeeping, errands, and meal preparation, to our private duty care program, which combines all of our home care offerings in one package.
Tender Touch Home Care Services, where your needs are our concern.
We're in our 18th year of practice at the Hammer Chiropractic Center, and we've seen over 15,000 different people in the Rocky Mount area. 40% of headaches actually come from a neck problem. Many patients come in taking multiple aspirin, over-the-counter medications and such a day, and we can get you to stop doing that and actually fix the problem so the headaches don't rise anymore. A lot of people think chiropractic hurts. It does not. Most of the people come in and they feel great when they leave.
You're now watching Wayback Wednesday, sponsored by Flores Glass and Mirror Company, servicing the area since 1977 with residential and commercial work.
And we're back. Folks, I just got a neat phone call. I just got a call from Suzanne Drake, and she has shared some knowledge with us I want to share with you. First of all, this collection of pictures was actually belonged to her dad, and she had given the book to Sam Parham to put in the hands of someone who could do something with them or would appreciate them, and so Sam immediately contacted me. The picture we showed just before the break, the tall gentleman with the glasses, was Suzanne's dad. His name was Sambo Drake. We got another call. Let's get this call here. Hello there, you on the air? Hello, Harold.
Hey, baby, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How you?
I guess she beat me to the punch. I knew that was Jeff Drake.
You recognized him, did you?
Tall guy, yes, but that was her dad, Jeff.
Yeah. Well, did you recognize anyone else in those pictures?
Not particularly.
Well, I'll tell you what, we've got several more, so stay tuned. You may recognize somebody else. There you go, on the right-hand side with the little case in his shirt pocket there. Suzanne referenced him as Sambo Drake. But
Right. He was called Sambo.
That's what she said. So anyway, all right, buddy. Thank you.
Buddy, bye.
We'll see you. Bye-bye. All right. Well, thanks again, Suzanne, for donating these pictures. I'm so glad to have them in my possession. I will guard them with my life, and I'll cherish them. So I'll tell you what, Lee, let's go ahead then. It looks like there's quite a few in this segment that are, now that I realize what's going on, this is the one that Bob was talking about. The auction, I guess, was going on here in this picture here. And there are several more in this buying segment. So go ahead, Lee, let's just kind of go through these. There you go. There's Mr. Drake again. And I think, okay, here we go. And again, I'm thinking these are all from Imperial Tobacco. Suzanne said her dad worked there for many, many years. In fact, worked in the business until he retired. And so since these pictures were all looped together, by the way, some of these have actually I pulled them, they were in a scrapbook, photo scrapbook, and so in order for me to scan them and get them available to show on the show tonight, I had to take them out of the scrapbook, of course. And so on the back of them, almost every one of these were stamped with the Killebrew Studios stamp. So Charlie Killebrew took these pictures, and so certainly the quality is recognizable. Charlie always did good work anyway. But, and again, the dates on these things range from, I think the oldest one I saw was from 1947. There were several from 1953, some from 1971. And Lee, you can just go ahead through these. If anyone sees anyone you recognize, give us a call. Some of these folks look kind of familiar to me, and then again, I wouldn't bet money on any of them. So if anyone else recognizes anyone, just let us know. 407-1111 is the number. Again, we're looking at pictures from the Imperial Tobacco Warehouse. That covers a lot of different things, but certainly these first few pictures appear to be primarily focused around tobacco buying. And so the guys have come in, the farmers have brought the tobacco into the market. It's laid out on the warehouse floor there, and the buyers are coming by. Oh, we've got another call. Let's get this call. Hello there, you're on the air.
I think that's Bernard Faulkner on the left of that current photograph.
Really? The one in the white shirt and black belt?
Yep.
Okay.
He was a partner in one of the warehouses. It was either Easley or Planters.
Okay. And I just caught your voice, Tom. How you doing, buddy?
Doing well, thank you.
Well, look, I appreciate the information, and thanks for watching.
Okay.
All right, buddy. Have a good night. Okay. Tom Betts there. Another loyal viewer. I hear from Tom just about every week after the show's over with. It's always good to know we've got some good loyal viewers, and we appreciate all of you. All right, Lee, let's go ahead then to the next picture. And I'm not sure, some of these are just different angles of the same day, same process going on. And I'm not sure, some of these things actually had a date at the top of the picture, and I think I may have cut the dates off when I cropped them, when I scanned them, I should say. But in any case, I believe this grouping here is all still in probably the 1960s, because there was one that was dated 1971, and I don't think we've gotten far enough along yet to see any that are that new. So go ahead, let's go to the next one. And let's see here. Okay, this was actually a meeting, and maybe someone can call in and share some information about this. I'm guessing this is, I never had an opportunity to go inside the Imperial Tobacco Warehouse when it was operational, so I don't know where this is at inside the building, but again, I'm assuming this is another room. Looks like some kind of banquet. I see they've got food laid out there, and so it was something associated with tobacco, obviously. I'm not sure if it was the end of the season or end of the sale or perhaps even the beginning, I don't know. But Lee, see if you can zoom in on this. I'm not sure how clear it will be. I was able to zoom in on it at my office and get a little better look at some of these folks sitting here, or standing here, I should say. But I didn't recognize anyone that I knew. So maybe some of the viewers can look at it if we can get it to zoom in. It may not. If it gets blurry when you try to zoom it, it's okay. I didn't zoom it very much on my computer because I realized quickly that, there you go. Some of these folks, I'm sure, are long since left this earth and have moved on, but some of these folks may still be with us. So if you see anybody you think you recognize, give us a call. 407-1111 is the number. And again, we're looking at the collection that was donated by Suzanne Drake, and her father, Sambo Drake, worked for many years at the Imperial Tobacco Center. And so this collection of pictures was, I guess, a family's collection. Her dad had saved these pictures over the years on a photo album, and she put in touch with, oh, we got a call. Let's get this call. Hello there, you're on the air. Hello, you're on the air.
Hey, Randy, I recognize a couple of people there. I think Jimmy Smith is one that's on that seated row, maybe the third from the right.
Okay.
But the picture seems to be taken at the Buck Overton barbecue place. It looks like that interior.
You know what? I hadn't even thought about the possibility they could have gathered somewhere else, but I see what you mean now. I remember there was some knotty pine.
I'm not familiar with the Imperial Tobacco Warehouse. The Imperial Tobacco Company is who Jeff worked for as a buyer, I believe. Mm-hmm. And that's, of course, where the Imperial Center is today.
Right.
But I worked there when I was in college a couple of summers, and had a good experience with that. Hot, but a good experience.
You know, I believe you might be on to something, though. That really does look like inside of Buck Overton's there. That's what you said, right, Buck Overton's?
Likely, it does look like the interior.
It sure does. That knotty pine paneling there.
And if you wanted to have a large gathering in those days, that was one of the few places we had to have one.
Right. I think
Favorite of the farmers.
Absolutely, mine too.
I know.
All right, buddy. Well, look, I appreciate you calling in and sharing that with us.
Bye.
All right, bye-bye. Okay. You know, on another topic, I talked to Harold earlier, after last week's show, in fact, about the old house out there off Macedonia Church Road that I'm going to get back out there when the weather breaks and all the leaves fall off the trees and the underbrush gets away from a little bit, so I can go to find that house up there in the woods. But in any case, Harold's one of our loyal viewers too, and always good to get knowledge and get these memories from folks who knew some of these people and lived through some of these bygone days. So we appreciate that. All right, Lee, I'll tell you what then. Let's go ahead to the next picture. And I kind of lost my place here. I'm not even sure. This appears to be another location. And I believe it's some kind of restaurant or banquet hall or something too. If anybody recognizes this, give us a call, 407-1111. Again, these were all in the same collection of pictures, and they were all dated roughly from 1947 to 1974. And this looks to be a little bit newer. I would say maybe late 60s, perhaps even early 70s. Like I say, some of these actually had a date on the back, and the ones that were dated were usually either in the 50s or the 70s. So I'm guessing there was a couple different collections of pictures that they just kind of put together in one photo album that spanned a couple decades or more of operations there at the Imperial Tobacco Center. All right, Lee, I'll tell you what, let's go to the next one then. And most of these in this grouping right here are going to be just gathering the people. Now, this could be here. Anyone recognize that checkerboard floor? I'm trying to remember whether or not Buck Overton's had a checkerboard floor, but I declare the walls do look like Buck Overton's. And the ceiling appears to have that old square Celotex tile stuff stuck in it, and I believe that was the kind of ceiling they had in Buck Overton's restaurant too. So I think Harold might have been on to something here. I got to believe that this was a restaurant, and the most likely restaurant for this kind of meeting, I think, would have been Buck Overton's. So until we find out otherwise, we're going to assume this was these few pictures here were taken, at least the ones with the knotty pine walls, were taken at Buck Overton's barbecue over on Sunset now. All right, Lee, I'll tell you what, let's go ahead then. We've got a couple more in this grouping here. And let's see if you can zoom in on this, Lee. There's a couple fellows in here that look awful familiar to me. Maybe someone else will recognize some of these guys. And I'm not sure exactly what the process is here. It could have been after the sale's over with. It could have been that this was just a gathering of the buyers, would be my guess. These are obviously well-dressed, distinguished gentlemen, so I'm inclined to think that they were perhaps buyers representing different tobacco companies, and maybe they just gather for a final picture at the end of the sale would be my guess. If anybody recognizes anybody there, give us a call. 407-1111 is the number, and we're looking at some pictures from the Imperial Tobacco Center. And this one, I want to say this is one of the ones that was dated, but in my notes, I've got out of whack here in my notes. There were so many of the same grouping. Gee, I'm scared to say. Those thin ties look more like 1960s, but I'm not sure. It could be the 50s too. It could be. So, all right, Lee, I'll tell you what. I think there's just a few more in this particular grouping. So let's go through. We've got a little bit. Okay. This is obviously out in the warehouse, and to me, these look like the farmers in the background here. So, Lee, I'll tell you what, let's zoom in on these and see if we can get anybody who can recognize any of these farmers here. And this, one of the things that kind of struck my eye too about some of these pictures, bringing tobacco to the market in many cases was a family affair. There are some kids, you see some young kids there in the front who were posing with the tobacco, and they're, the whole family came in many cases to bring tobacco to market. And so I guess in those days the whole family worked in tobacco, and the whole family got to share in the adventure of taking it to market and selling it. So, and some of these folks look to be probably young enough to, I'm sure, are still around today. As I said earlier, some of them I'm sure are passed on, but if you see anybody you think you recognize there, give us a call, 407-1111. And again, these are pictures that come from the Drake family collection. Mr. Sambo Drake was a longtime employee of Imperial Tobacco Company, and so he had gathered these pictures that spanned, roughly 2, maybe 3 decades, from the late 40s to the middle 70s anyway. I think the latest one I saw was 1974. And so Suzanne was gracious enough to donate the album to Sam Parham, and Sam Parham put it in my hands today. And so I had a ball looking through these things. I was trying to spot somebody I might know, and a couple of these folks did look familiar, but I didn't recognize anybody well enough to state unequivocally that I didn't know them. Okay, we're on the call. Let's get this call here. Hey, Sam.
Hey, the guy standing there with the glass case in his pocket with kind of long hair is Booty May. He ran an antique store in Rocky Mount at one time.
Okay.
And Sambo Drake is standing next to him.
Okay, we're panning back to the left now. Keep going, Lee. I didn't see the gentleman that Sam is referring to.
See Sambo standing on the right-hand side. The guy sitting down, the first one with the T-shirt.
On the front row?
Yeah, on the front row where the people are sitting down, right behind him.
Okay.
He's going too far now.
Go back the other way, Lee. I think I know where he's talking about. Go back to the other way. Keep going.
Right.
All right, keep going, Lee. Keep a little more. A little more.
Okay, that guy there is Booty May.
The guy with the shirt protector, a pocket protector.
Right.
Okay, all right. And then just to his left would be Sambo Drake, you're saying?
Looks like Sambo Drake next to him.
Okay. So Booty May, you say he ran an antique place downtown?
Right. He had a nice business downtown at one time.
Was that the Carousel Antique place?
Carousel Antique.
I remember that place. I absolutely do.
He was a buyer for Imperial Tobacco Company of Great Britain and Ireland.
Okay. Wow.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, buddy.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate that. All right, I tell you what, Lee, let's take our next commercial break. When we come back, we've got a bunch of more pictures to show you folks, so don't go anywhere. If you need a quick bathroom break or get yourself something to drink or snack on, go ahead and take care of those little necessities and hurry on back with some more Wayback Wednesday.
You're now watching Wayback Wednesday, sponsored by Flores Glass and Mirror Company, servicing the area since 1977 with residential and commercial work.
Does sorting through Medicare make you feel like this? Don't worry. Be happy. For any of your Medicare questions, just a simple call to your local team of licensed, customer-friendly agents can get you from here to there. Imagine getting the most out of your Medicare. Call 833-232-8880.
I'm Daniel Moss, owner of Cornerstone Funeral Home, and I'd like to invite you and your family to give our family an opportunity to serve you in your time of need. And we offer a full line of funeral services, everything from visitations to graveside services to cremations on site with a live crematory, as well as a banquet hall to meet the catering needs of our families that we serve. We offer catering service. We offer refreshments prior to visitations and services of our family. And we want to invite you to come and experience the difference here at Cornerstone Funeral Home.
When faced with special care needs for elderly or disabled loved ones, families want compassionate, comforting care. That's Tender Touch Home Care Services' goal, providing the level of care we would expect for our own. With over 10 years of home care excellence, Tender Touch provides an array of services that keeps your loved one at home. From personal care, light housekeeping, errands, and meal preparation, to our private duty care program, which combines all of our home care offerings in one package.
Tender Touch Home Care Services, where your needs are our concern.
We're in our 18th year of practice at the Hammer Chiropractic Center, and we've seen over 15,000 different people in the Rocky Mount area. 40% of headaches actually come from a neck problem. Many patients come in taking multiple aspirin, over-the-counter medications and such a day, and we can get you to stop doing that and actually fix the problem so the headaches don't rise anymore. A lot of people think chiropractic hurts. It does not. Most of the people come in and they feel great when they leave.
You're now watching Wayback Wednesday, sponsored by Flores Glass and Mirror Company, servicing the area since 1977 with residential and commercial work.
Back. Folks, for just tuning in, you're watching Wayback Wednesday. I'm Randy Adcock. So good of you to join us. We're sharing some pictures tonight that were graciously donated by Suzanne Drake Parham. I think I referred to her earlier as Suzanne Drake. She is married, and she's now Suzanne Drake Parham. So anyway, Suzanne, thank you. Thanks Sam Parham, who I understand I think is Suzanne's husband's uncle. I believe I got that right. But anyway, thanks to Sam for donating these pictures. I had a ball this afternoon going through them and looking at them. You know, I've said before, my grandfather was a sharecropper and a tobacco farmer himself. And so I was exposed to tobacco farming at a very early age, so early, in fact, that I wasn't old enough to participate in the process. I have some very vivid memories of seeing the entire operation from planting to harvest to you know, everything else involved. But by the time I got old enough to be of any assistance, my grandfather had retired. So luckily I didn't have to participate in any of it. But I do have a very soft spot in my heart for the tobacco farmer and farmers in general for that matter, but particularly tobacco farmers. So thanks again to those that have helped put together tonight's show by contributing these pictures. All right, Lee, I tell you what, let's jump back in. We've got several more that are in this particular grouping, and then we've got some more that are just general pictures of the tobacco industry itself, so I want to get those too. All right, this picture here, this was a little 3x4, very, very small picture. And so I scanned this thing at a very high resolution just so that we could zoom in on it. And when I tried to zoom in, it didn't really zoom very well. So there you go. It starts to get a little blurry. Like I said, this was a very small picture, and I'm not sure that we can really get tight enough zoom in to identify anyone. And this, I'm guessing, was probably inside the warehouse or inside the plant somewhere, the Imperial Center, just going by the tobacco leaves painted on the back wall back there. I can tell you it was 20 minutes to 4 in the afternoon. Other than that, I'm really not sure what was going on in this picture here. But anyway, again, these all appear to be very well dressed. I would guess tobacco buyers, just a guess, but in any case. All right, Lee, let's go to the next picture then. And I think there's 2, 3 more maybe in this grouping here. I'm not sure. There you go. This might be the last one. This was actually dated 1953, and that is a Sylvania, black and white, obviously, 1953. Let's get this call here. Hello there. You on the air?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So this is the show I normally look at, not this show, but I normally look at this station for buy, sell, and trade. They not in business no more?
You know, there is a buy, sell, and trade show, and to be honest with you, I'm not sure what day or time it comes on. I'm sorry I can't give you more information, but I honestly just don't know. Hang on, let me see if I can find out. Lee, when does buy, sell, and trade come on?
Usually Wednesdays, but because of all this COVID, it's not on right now.
Okay, all right. My technician, my studio tech, just told me that because of the COVID-19, the buy, sell, trade show is temporarily put on a hiatus. So it will be coming back at some time in the future, but for right now, it's just on hold. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Have a good night.
You too. Bye.
Okay. All right, so somebody won a TV. In 1953, somebody won themselves a Sylvania black and white TV that probably had about 10 or 12 channels, I'm guessing. And that thing probably weighed 200 pounds. I'm sure back then those TVs were heavy anyway, big old picture tube there. But that was a big prize in 1953 to win a television set. That was doing something. So I don't know who any of these people are. If anybody recognizes either one of these three gentlemen, give us a call. But I'm guessing the man on the right there won the TV. I don't know for sure, but could have been a guy on the left for that matter. I don't know. But somebody won a TV in 1953, Sylvania. All right, Lee, I'll tell you what, let's go ahead then. I'm not sure that there's many more in this grouping. That may have been the last one. Well, I guess maybe this might be the last one. And this was just one, I have no idea who this is. If anyone recognizes it, give us a call. 407-1111 is the number. But this was actually identified, I think, as lecture on the back of the picture. So I'm not sure. Something to do with tobacco, obviously. So, okay. This next couple of pictures here are the front and back, if I remember correctly. Go ahead and pull up the next couple of pictures here. There was a bulletin. Here we go. This is the Imperial Tobacco Bulletin, and this one is actually dated April of 1970. And on the front, and this thing didn't scan very well. Because of the way the paper was made, when I scanned it, it actually tried to pull from the back side and the front side too, and that's what gives that grainy look. There's actually a term for that. But anyway, there was a golf tournament, and so it was, I guess, sponsored by the Imperial Tobacco Company, and I'm not sure where it was held. It doesn't say here. Let me see if I can tell you, because there's a little bit of write-up here. The next picture, Lee, actually shows some people involved. It says the annual golf tournament was held under sunny skies on April 21st at the Wilson Country Club, and a very enjoyable day was spent by all the contenders for the Bristol Cup. A party was held at the country club, and after the match, and the winners were presented with their trophies by Mr. Gregory. Our congratulations to the winner, Mr. P.B. Moore. Runners-up, Mr. R.S. Monds, M-O-N-D-S, Mr. M.M. Taylor Jr., Mr. W.W. Kimball, the efforts of Mr. A.A. Ruffin Jr., who organized the tournament, and Mrs. Eleanor Tabb, who performed much of the administrative work involved, were much appreciated. So, again, this was in Wilson. I didn't realize that. I'd read over this thing earlier, and I didn't catch that part when I read it earlier. But it was a golf tournament in Wilson. It was sponsored by the Imperial Tobacco Company, I guess here in Rocky Mount. And it was 1970, April of 1970. So anyway, that's the Imperial Tobacco Company bulletin there. So, all right, Lee, we're getting down to, let's see here. Let's go to the next one here. I'm not sure. Okay, that's the back. The one on your left is the front, the one on the right is the back. It was a front and back single page bulletin there. And so, like I said, this was just one of the things that were included in that photo album that Sam Parham had presented us with. It came from, of course, the Suzanne Drake Parham family. All right, Lee, so the next picture here, I believe, and these next 10 or 12, we may not get a chance to go through all of these. Oh, okay. This picture here is actually, we showed this picture, I believe, in our earlier show. It was last week or week before, perhaps. But this appears to be the original picture. I actually found the one that I showed on the show a week or two ago. I believe it was in an online archive of Charlie Killebrew photographs. But this appears to be the original. It's actually got his, on the back of the photograph, it's got his little logo there, or stamp. And so this thing will, I mean, it's a very high resolution picture and it will blow up. But in any case, I think it's from probably early 1960s. There's some early 1960 model cars in this picture anyway. So, but of course, this is now the location for the Imperial Center down there at the corner of Falls Road and Church Street. And they have done a remarkable job. The city of Rocky Mount, I should say, has done a remarkable job of rehabbing this facility. And there's a art center in there, and several different children's museum is in there. Oh, we got a call. Let's get this call. Hello there. You on the air?
All right. You're looking at, like you say, the old Imperial factory. And Thornton Ricks occupied that property for about 6, 7, or 8 years. In the after that big tobacco warehouse fire down there on Falls Road that damaged the old original Thorpe factory, they needed somewhere to move to for that reason, as well as just more capacity and whatever. And my mother's sister worked for them people, and they wound up occupying. Thornton Ricks wound up moving their operations into that building until about 1974.
Mm-hmm.
It's right there. Those cars down there in the foreground, they're parked on McDonald Street. That street no longer exists and whatever. And across the street over there where the car's on the right-hand side, they're in a south parking lot of the old Brownsville Library.
Okay.
And I think after that picture right there would have been taken, there was a second floor, that building up on the front that is darker in color.
Mm-hmm.
They built a second floor on that part of that building for just the need of more office space or whatever. But that's what I remember about that place. And you can see one leg of the water tank, which is on the left side, which is there right now.
Right, I do see that. I didn't catch that. You just mentioned that, but I do see that. Sure do. Now, do you remember, or do you have any recollection of? This was a plant, obviously, and you mentioned the Thorpe Ricks tobacco plant across the way that burned, but they didn't make cigarettes in here, obviously.
Oh, well, there.
Uh-huh.
No, I don't think there was any cigarettes ever made now anywhere else in Rocky Mount. That was just that was a redrying, what they call a redrying operation, where tobacco from the warehouse floor was brought in, and it was steamed and cleaned up and made ready and put in wooden hogsheads to be shipped off to people that did make cigarettes.
There you go. That's what I was getting at. So there's the remnants of the old furnace are still here in this building. I was in it not too long ago, and it's still there.
And the Thornton Ricks organization was heavily involved in dealing with the Japanese market.
Okay.
And that was primarily for many. They were the oldest redrying operation that was in Rocky Mount. It dates back to 1886.
Wow. Okay. All right, Eric, thank you, buddy, for calling in. Appreciate that here.
That business goes back to before the days that the Atlantic Coastline Railroad came into existence.
Wow, okay.
ACL Railroad was formed in 1900. Thornton Ricks' original factory over there on Falls Road got started in 1886.
Okay, good deal.
All right, and the man you were talking about earlier, Mr. Hun Vestal, his first name was Cameron.
Okay.
He lived on the corner of Lexington Street and Rose Street over on the Edgecombe side of town. He lived right next door to the old SS Toller House that faced Rose Street, up there kind of near the Memorial Hospital.
Okay.
All right,
buddy. Thank you. Have a good night. Okay. All right, folks, we're just about to run out of time. Lee, I'll tell you what, let's go ahead real quickly and blow through these next series of pictures. Folks, some of these may or may not be from the Rocky Mount area. Oh, we got another call. Let's get this call right quick. Hello there, you on the air? Hey, Harold.
Hey, buddy.
Yes, sir.
That picture of the Imperial tobacco plant there.
Right.
When I worked there as a college student, as Eric said, that was a redrying plant and packing in those hogsheads to be shipped overseas or wherever the cigarettes were made.
Mm-hmm.
They were stored for years to age the process of the tobacco and so forth. But my job was to weigh those hogsheads as they rolled over toward the boxcar loading area. And there was a track put in there, which is still somewhat obvious there, I guess because I remember it. But where those cars are parked in that parking lot,
mm-hmm.
I believe back in the earlier days, there was a city tennis courts there.
Mm-hmm.
And I can remember the old clay tennis courts that were there before that parking lot was established.
You know, I remember hearing people talk about a swimming pool there at one time. You remember a pool there?
No, I don't. But it's very possible that the city, because they were involved with the ownership of the Brownsville Library there, It's very possible that that was part of the recreational facilities for Rocky Mount. So, you know, Ed Turnley was the director of Parks and Rec in Rocky Mount for many years. If you have a connection with the Parks and Rec department or maybe Ed Turnley family, they may have a lot of good pictures and photos for your show.
Okay.
Just as the Drakes did.
Good deal. Okay, buddy. Thank you.
Good show tonight.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thanks for watching.
Yes, sir.
All right. Folks, that's going to about wrap it up for us tonight. We've run slam out of time. I do have some more pictures, but I tell you what, I'll save those and I'll bring them back next week. Again, I want to thank Bob Marriott for his input. I want to thank Sam Parham for donating the pictures, and certainly want to thank Suzanne Drake Parham for putting the pictures in Sam's hand, who then put them in my hand. So, and thank you for the callers who called in and shared your memories and your information. We always appreciate you. Folks, thanks so much. It's been my pleasure to be with you tonight. I hope you have a fantastic week this coming week. Stay safe, take care of yourselves, and be kind to each other, folks. And we'll see you next week with more Wayback Wednesday. Good night.
You're now watching Wayback Wednesday, sponsored by Flora's Glass and Mirror Company, servicing the area since 1977 with residential and commercial work.